if you are a department that's in need of funds or grants, today we are going to go over one that opens on May 4th at 12 p.m. and it's open till May 7th at 12 p.m. So what this is the National Volunteer Fire Council / State Farm Good Neighbor Program. And it's a grant for volunteer departments or combo departments. And 150 departments will be chosen to receive $10,000 each. So today we're going to break down exactly what this is. We'll go over the criteria, what the funds can be used for, how to build your case, which is the most important part, and then how to apply. So let's first get into the criteria here. So let me just scroll down a bit.
So it's the National Volunteer Fire Council along with State Farm.
Correct. So this is the criteria to be eligible for the grant.
It's very, very short window too. So
yes,
just make sure you're on it.
Yes, that's why we're getting into this. So to be eligible for the grant, these are the criteria you need to fit. Grant must be used for eligible fire department equipment, which we'll get into in a sec. The department must be over 50% volunteer. Paid on call is considered volunteer. The department must serve a population of 25,000 or less. The revenue for the department's most recently completed fiscal year must not have exceeded $250,000. You must demonstrate a need for the grant by indicating what the funds will be used for and articulating the impact this grant will have on the department and the community. You also need to be willing to share a photo or video to publicize the grant award, and the Volunteer Fire Council will provide a sample with promotional tools, templates to help. You must report back within 4 months on how the grant funds were used, and only one application will be accepted per department. So those are your just basic criteria there that you need. Now, we'll get into the equipment side of things. So this is the list of eligible equipment. Let me just, okay. So air supply and monitoring, accountability tags, compressor motors for fill stations, gas meters, respiratory fit testing machines, and SCBA. For communications and technology, that's anything from antennas, mounts, chargers, batteries, command boards, even drones, pagers, radios, tablets, computers, and thermal imaging cameras. You can also get stuff for decon, and then different things for fire suppression, medical equipment, PPE, power and lighting, search and rescue / water rescue, station support, so basic furnishings like benches, wall mounts, storage systems, gear lockers, tools and equipment. This is the big stuff here. So cutting tools, standard axes, chainsaws, wire cutters, forcible entry and utility tools, so that's pike poles, all that type of stuff. This also includes hydraulic rescue tools, jaws of life, cutters, spreaders, rams, combi tools, and stabilization and scene tools. Then you have ventilation exhaust, and now the other things here, eligible supplemental equipment costs. So this is an important one. Additional items eligible to purchase to support your equipment include any related hardware, parts, attachments, and accessories, labor, installation fees, repairs or upgrades to existing equipment, sales tax, shipping costs, training for the equipment, used and refurbished equipment, and warranties. So another important part of this, the grant may also be used to complete a larger equipment purchase. So for example, the department has been raising funds for new apparatus and only needs $10,000 more to complete the purchase. That grant can be used to meet that goal. But the big kicker there is you can't say, oh, we need $10,000 toward this piece of apparatus and not have the remaining money for it. So
It has to be spent.
yeah, it has to be spent and also has to be showed or accounted for. That, like, you know, you have
So
to
it
show
shows
them.
right there, it says spent within 4 months.
Yeah, so that's the other part. All this stuff that you get is granted to you depending on what your department's needs are, and that's going to be the next part of this is what exactly do you need to put in there? And we'll put the link here in the video description. That way you can click it because it's fairly simple. You go through it, it literally lays down everything you need for it. And again, this opens May 4th. So with us putting this out, it should give you ample time to get some of these things together. So,
And it's only from the 4th to the 7th, though. So
yeah, it's only from the 4th to the
it's got to
7th.
be submitted very, very quickly. So
Right.
you should be working on this already and figuring out what you want to do. And the big thing is when you're writing these grants, if you don't have a grant writer, is to make sure that you're justifying it and getting those keywords in there of your justification and why you really need this funds.
So let's get
to
into that part
complete
of it,
your
Kev.
purchases.
So we talk to a lot of departments that are hurting for equipment, or they need equipment updated, or their rigs updated, don't have money for training and whatnot. So you can't go into this and apply for this grant saying, oh, we need everything, you know, or we need training, or we need new tools. It has to be very specific as to what
Correct.
you need. And you also need to get pricing. All this stuff needs
Right.
to be basically in a package, which you'll see on their website. It'll give you, you can upload one file. So if you have all this stuff set, you get it all together, put it in that one file. That way they can review it. So the other thing that's on here as well is the amount of funds. So you can't exceed 250,000 unless, according to this, unless it's from a previous grant. So if for some reason you got a grant earlier this year or whatever it is, that puts you over that $250,000 mark, but other years you're less than that, you just apply by putting all the funds and expenses aside from that grant money that you got. And that's in there. So
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
If you read everything that's on the website, it kind of explains what you need to do and how you need to do it. You know, so, and there's multiple other grants that are out there that are available to departments and jurisdictions as well. So this is all areas that you need to start looking at if you're having trouble with funds in you know, trying to help out your department or your district.
So, Kev, let's take, for example, a department that needs to, say, upgrade one of their rigs. Because, let's be honest here, the price of a new fire engine or fire truck in general, they're astronomical right now. And it's, you know, $10,000 really not going to help you too much with that.
No, I mean, even used apparatus at this point is, you know, the prices have gone up. The pricing of everything has gone up, you know, throughout the country. So, you know, you've got to be looking at all these factors and figuring out where you can place, you know, in the shell game of getting what you need. And it really is what you need. It's not these extra things. It's what I need to survive.
Right. And I think another important part of this, when aside from saying, okay, we know we need this, we know we need to fix this rig, or we know that we need, say, extrication equipment, you also have to put into account how this is going to help not just your department, but the community. So we've been talking about this lately with new developments going into your area and whatnot. Is your area having an increase in people moving there? Like those are types of things that you have to put into that to account for the reason for needing these funds. So, Kev, if you have an engine, right, say it's an older engine, you need some repairs to it, what exactly do we want to put into this file explaining exactly what we need these funds for? And I know it could be a myriad of different things,
It's yeah,
but
it's really hard to kind of pin it down. It really is going to depend on the need, So your justification and need is really where it's at. You have to articulate why. And with apparatus, it's going to be very difficult. General maintenance, you can't just say, I need funds, $10,000 for general maintenance of a rig. You need to say, I need brakes. I need lighting, whatever the deal is, that I need a generator that has to be repaired and specify the exact amount, So sometimes these grants are a little difficult to navigate. And that's why I say, it's good to do, if you have a grant writer and somebody knows how to write grants, they know those key words to articulate that justification so that you can get what you need. But you have to be very specific. And like you said, getting prices and stuff like that, talk to multiple vendors. What will be more beneficial to get that grant? And you have to really prove a lot of times, why you can't afford that now, right? That's part of your justification. Why don't I have the funds to do this? And why do I need your money to do this? And then they want videos or pictures showing you that you're doing these types of grants. So it gets back to a lot of different facets, and I'm sure they're going to look into your department, they're going to look into your community. We do this with the Joey D Foundation. Our grant period is open as well right now. It starts January 1st and ends in June, the end of June. But we look at, like, what's the poverty level in your community. We look at what your financials are. We look at everything when we're going down that grant of why you need certain things. But, we're centered more around bailout systems and rope rescue type of equipment. So we don't, give out grants for everything. This is an open grant, and a lot of them are open grants where you can put in for any type of equipment you might need. When you get into other things like the AFG grants or the SAFER grants, like they get more specific, into what they are, right? The SAFER grant is more geared towards personnel and staffing, right? So when you look at these different things that are out there, and you can search a lot of these grants to help your department or your organization, but you got to see what you really need and why you really need it. That's how you justify it. That's how you get these grants.
yeah,
Prove to them.
yeah, and I would say there could be multiple things that you need help with, but it comes down to what exactly is priority.
What's the most important?
If you don't get this truck fixed, is it going to break down, within the next year or two? Or take a look at the gear around your firehouse. Is it expired? How bad a shape is it in? And do you need to get that all replaced?
Correct.
Your heavy rescue equipment, jaws of life, the hydraulic tools, what kind of shape are they in? And just a reminder too, this grant is also, you can use these funds for used equipment. So it could be the
Correct.
type of thing where, $10,000 might get you, say, like a spreader tool and a cutter, but if you also need a combi tool and, say, like a ram, you could probably buy used equipment, a whole set, for $10,000. So you really
Right.
have to go in and figure out exactly what is priority that your department needs, and you really have to put in a really solid explanation for this.
Yep. And I think you should do a lot of research, right? I mean, this one's coming up real quick, and that's why we're putting it out there. But there's a multitude of grants and organizations and foundations that are also there to assist your department, right? The Terry Farrell Fund, we talk about this a lot. They're based out of Long Island, but they're across our country. The Terry Farrell Fund takes in donations from departments of used equipment or equipment they're looking to surplus, and they give that right back out to other fire departments that are in need, right? That can't afford this stuff. And they could have anything from ladders to hose to SCBAs, old thermal imaging cameras, right? So that's another area that you can look to do this. Even big industrial complexes or big stores like Walmart gives out grants. They give grants to the local fire departments. Home Depot gives out grants. Target gives out grants. So these are all different avenues that you have to start looking at. Even if it's not right centered in your community, it's close by, right? Fire Firehouse Subs is another one. They give out grants and money. So, there are so many different areas that you can get stuff for your organization, whether it's through a donation, through small funds, but these major corporations all have money to give. And if you can help them with like fire prevention or doing demos for them, they can also assist you. Some of them will give out smoke detectors, CO detectors that you can go into your communities and help put these in people's homes to help save their lives, right? These are all benefits to your organization and your community of keeping people safe. So it's important to see and really do a good needs assessment of your organization. What do I actually need? Not what do I actually want, right? Wants and needs are two different things. I need things to perform. I need things to keep my members active. I need things to keep my rigs on the road and stuff like that. We need to make a difference in our community. So don't be afraid to look things up, do Google searches or whatever, on the internet. There are so many avenues to find funds for your organization. And this one, like we said, it's coming up very quick. It's a very short window of opportunity. Talk to somebody in your community that may be a grant writer that can help your organization. They don't even have to be a member of your department. They're part of your community, your village, your boards, stuff like that may have people available to you. A local university may be able to write a grant for you. So look at all of these different avenues to try to get more equipment, more training, right? Training grants, there's a bunch of those out there as well. So, go look, find the stuff. It'll help you.
Yeah, and I'll put it out there too. If there are some potential questions that you guys have, you can absolutely reach out to us as well, and we'll answer them to the best of our ability. But again, we wanted to put this out there just, for the departments that are struggling. Get on this. You got some time right now to get your financials in order, figure out exactly what you need, and when this grant opens up on May 4th, we'll have the link down in the description below. It's the same link. You can search it. It's the National Volunteer Fire Council / State Farm Good Neighbor Program, and it'll walk you through the whole thing. That about
Absolutely
wraps it up for this. And if you want more videos like this and you want us to talk about specific things in shorter form, make sure you subscribe and send us what you want to hear. And that wraps that up.